Katrina here from Scrappy Horses. Welcome to my YouTube channel. It's great to have you here today. I am working on a journal page for the challenge over at the Outlaws Twisted Thursday. I have several different journals that I enjoy adding pictures and colorings and just all kinds of sentiments and different ideas. And today I'm choosing to use my Fall Keepsake Journal book that I made myself, and I will put a link to that below if you'd like to see that. And I'm adding to it a beautiful, beautiful digi from Kristen Caron, and it's called Wood Elfing Coloring Page, and it's originally done in grayscale, so it's an easy color, it really is. And here she is. I have a little offset oval I want to add. I have some cut pieces that I want to use, some die cuts. They were cut on my Cricut. I have this little flower that matches the flower in the image that I colored, and also some feathers. I end up not using all of these pieces, but it's always better to have a few extra than have to get up in the middle of the project and go cut some more. Now, I also wanted to include some twine because the challenge going over at the Outlaws Crash or Stash is use twine. So I wanted to use some twine so I could put my project in over there also. Here's the book I'm using today. And I love this book because I can just slide this page out and just work on the page itself. So I'm putting a little bookmark there so that I know exactly where that page goes so I can put it back in at the end of my project. So I'm just going to open this up and take a look at the space that I'm going to be using. I've grabbed a piece of scrap paper to put under my craft oval, and I'm just coloring around with my Faber-Castell. Now, this color of ink matches my YG61, and I left that sort of scribbled at the bottom for the grass, and I'm going to fill in the white with this ink from this Close to My Heart ink pad. I'm not sure if the current colors, if they would match, but this just almost matches perfectly. So I actually put that note on there so I would remember. I'm going to go around with some champagne and fill in where I didn't color in the blue. And now I'm going to go around the edge with cashmere, which is darker, just to give it a framed look. I'm going to come in with the champagne color, and I'm going to ink up my feathers. And I'm going to add a little bit of this blue-green color also. It's a Close to My Heart color, and I believe it's juniper. All right, this cardstock, I believe it is one of those from, I forget who it's from, but it was called the Chocolate Lovers stack, and every piece of paper had brown on one side and then colors on the other. So I decided just to leave that as it was and not ink it because it had that red around it. Okay, here's one of the vines that I cut, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this now to fit my image the way I want it to fit. I'm going to ink it up with that juniper ink, and I'm going to do the same. I want to cut this one just to be a little stem for this flower, but I wanted it not just to be a straight sticky like. I wanted it to be more vine-like and have some curves to it. So I cut this vine 2 times on my Cricut, and then I'm just hand cutting what I want to use. I could have sliced this in Cricut, but I just decided to do it by hand. All right, now I wanted to keep these pieces together exactly the way they were, and I thought I might be able to hold it with masking tape. But the truth of the matter is, once I put that ink on there, that masking tape was not going to hold it at all. And you can see it's going everywhere. So in order to get the shape that I had before, I just went back and I got the piece that is where I cut it from. Sorry to end that sentence with a preposition. And I went ahead and put tape over it again. Well, again, it didn't want to hold where that ink was. I mean, it was really challenging. So I did my best to try to get it to hold, and it was difficult. I did get it to hold long enough just to get it on the tape and set it aside. But the reason I did this is because I wanted to go ahead and place it on my page as one piece. And you'll see that a little later in the video. For now, we're going to jump ahead here and we're going to go ahead and assemble the main focal image. I'm putting her on the background, and I'm doing that with some Fabri-Tac. I like using Fabri-Tac because it gives me time to move my image if I need to. With the tape, it sticks right away. With Fabri-Tac, I have a little bit of time to move things around. So now I'm going to add a little bit of this tape, double score tape, just to make sure that it gets in there and it stays. I'm going to add Fabri-Tac over the top. And again, it gives me that wiggle room and also gives me just more adhesive on there. Now you'll see that I'm leaving the outer edges free from adhesive. I'm doing that in case I decide I want to stick something under there once once I get all my pieces in place. If I decide it's not enough, I can add something underneath there. Okay, so here we are with this flower. So I'm kind of deciding where it goes, and you can see the little petal just fell out, so I'm going to just stick it back on there best I can. And I'm getting them all lined up exactly the way I want them. Now I'm going to leave them right on that masking tape, and I'm going to use some Zig 2-way glue. I'm going to go ahead and go around the petals, and then I will just place the whole image on the page where I want it. First, I'm going to go ahead and glue up the stem. Again, the Zig 2-way gives me so little that I can get in these little itty bitty vines without creating too much problem. So here we go. I'm going to place that in one piece now. And that makes it so much easier than trying to place each one and get them exactly where they go. And anything that doesn't hold exactly right, I can just move around a little bit. Now I'm going to come in with the stem and just place it right on the page. Now there's another advantage to this Zig 2-way glue, and you're going to see that later on in the video. I'm not going to, give away anything here. Keep it as a surprise. All right, so here I've got this other little vine, and I want it to look like it's coming up behind the flower. So again, I'm going to use my Zig 2-way glue. I'm going to come in and just dot that all up with glue. Zig 2-way glue, the way it works is if you put it down immediately, it should stick and be permanent. But if you let it dry some, it kind of works like Post-it note paper. You can use it to reapply something and it should come up. Now keep in mind that stem on the bottom of the flower, we did let sit for a minute. Not on purpose, but it worked out to my advantage. And again, I'll show you later on. All right, let's come in and get these feathers in place. I decided that my little feather on the top was a little plain, and so I'm going to do something with that later on too. But first, let's get some twine in, because remember that challenge? I wanted to use twine so I could put this in the Outlaws Crush Your Stash challenge. So I'm adding a little bit of orange embroidery floss, and the reason I'm adding a little bit of orange embroidery floss is because I just wanted a little more of that color up on that right-hand side. I've got her little red hat, which adds it, and I've got some yellow down in there, but I really wanted to add some more bright color up in that area. So this really did do the trick. I really added something nice there. So I'm going to go ahead and clip these and set my bow aside while I go ahead and glue my feathers in. So there's the red on the other side. And you can see when I lay it back down that that red shows on the edges of the brown. And I really like that. So that's the reason I didn't go over that with any sort of ink. I liked it just the way it was. All right, now I'm going to come in, and I decided that this was a little plain for me. I decided I wanted to try to do something. So I used the little ball end of this tool, and that's like a soft mat underneath, a foam mat. And I'm just putting the spine into this feather. Well, I decided that wasn't really going to show up enough, so I wanted to try something else. So I got out some ink, and I dipped that metal into that and tried that. And as some of you who have either tried this before or understand science might expect, it just didn't work. And I was like, ugh. So I came in with a brown colored pencil, but this was a very thin pencil. And it didn't give me much color. It was pretty thin. So I came in with a thicker one. And I just went ahead and I thought, you know what, I've got all these marks from the ball now that I don't like. So I'm going to go over this a little heavier. And I'm going to go ahead and put in some feather definition with my colored pencil over this. And so I spent some time on this, just sort of sketching that in, and then decided, you know, I might need it a little bit darker than what I have. So I gave it a little more weight, W-E-I-G-H-T, into my pencil, a little more weight, and got those in there. Now I'm folding it the wrong way, and I'm actually coming in with ink now and going over that crease to really bring that crease out. And now I'm folding it back the other way, and I'm sort of scruffing up some of the edges there so that it has more of a feathery look on those edges. When I glue this into place, I'm going to glue in just the spine, and I'm just sort of crossing over the two little feathers. Now I'm putting a drop of glue, and in goes my twine and embroidery floss. This is an old retired stamp set, and I wanted to put thankful at the bottom. Two reasons. I just thought that that would be a perfect sentiment for this. But there's also another challenge that I thought, oh, this would be great for this other challenge. So I thought, all right, I'm going to put thankful on there so I can use this piece for another challenge. So I can't remember what that is, but I'll tell you what, I'll roll it along on the screen later so you can see it. All right, I'm coming in with some autumn terracotta, and I'm getting that white piece, and I'm making it not so white here. And oh no, I find out that, ugh, it's too long. So I clipped the edges, the right and left edges. Still not quite sure what I want to do. Whenever you see me drum my fingers, I don't know what I want to do. And I was drumming pretty hard there. So I decided, you know what, I'll go underneath the petal. Then I went and got my Cricut spatula. And I thought, I use two-way glue with this. I wonder if I can get that vine leafy part up. So I slipped it under there, and sure enough, I could get that up enough to go ahead and insert this little sentiment underneath there. And I thought, okay, perfect. This works great. But I needed a little more of that autumn terracotta just to cover up that right and left edge. And then I made the top and bottom borders just a little thicker so that it had a little more color on the top and bottom. Given that ink is from close to my heart, I'm sure the color is retired. Coming in with my Fabri-Tac, again, because I know I'm going to need to slide here. I'm picking up that petal, and then had to go in and get it with my fingernail because I couldn't get my tool back around there. But I got it into place finally and liked it. I like that little flower sticking over the top. Remember when I told you that I was not going to glue all the way to the edge in case I wanted to add something? And I did. I decided I wanted to add this really pretty white lace around there. And I'm thinking, well, that white is a bit too stark for this. So I'm just pulling that champagne ink that I used before, And all I do is just dab it over the lace and I get that pretty color. It kind of gives it a tea-stained color, a very light tea stain. And now I'm just putting a little glue on the edge. And since I've got my Cricut tool there, I thought, wait, why am I fighting with this? I'll just get that Cricut tool and use that to get this in here. So you'll see me grab that here in just a minute once I struggle a little bit. There we go. Now I just push it in as I go around and pull it back out a little bit. And it worked out perfectly for this job. So I'm going to remember that. I'm going to use this tool for that job because that made it really easy. And the lace then will just sort of trail off underneath that vine. And that's how that works, just that easy. So now I've decided it's time to add some gems. And if you follow my YouTube, you know that when the gems come out, we're pretty close to the end of the video. But again, I have a little something to add at the end of this. And so I'm going to place my gems in, and then I want to show you how simple it is now to put my page back into the book. Before doing that, I want to show you though that my camera clicked off and I did add that little juniper colored flower up on the left hand side, and I added a couple of sequins below. All right, so there's the flower and then there are the sequins. Now remember I left that bookmark in, so all I have to do is pick this up and just slide it right back into place, and it's just that easy. The page is back in my book and I didn't have to deal with trying to work on top of all the other pages. So I really like this system. If you're interested in knowing how I made this book, I'll leave that below in the box. And in fact, I'll leave all the information you need about this video in the box below. Hey, thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you learned a new tip or two or just enjoyed watching this. If so, you can give me a like, and if you'd like to follow me, that would be great too. I'll leave information for you in the box below, and I'll catch up with you in the next video. Bye.